Welcome back to another episode of A Candor Gander with your host, Sergeant Filthy McNasty. I've taken a long needed holiday, no pun intended, because we will be chatting about holiday. With that said, welcome back. Welcome to the flock. If you've not already grabbed your drink, make sure you grab one, take a seat, and you know listen in. We'll be chatting and answering some of those very important questions. Top of mind for all of us here, including, what's up with this Clinton proposal? These new partnerships, tell me more. And Star Wars or Star Trek, which is better? The answer to those questions here shortly. Hello, hello. We are joined here by a very uh, amazing group of gentlemen here. We've got Wowie, Christian, Raph, Sticks, Intern. You may know them, but yeah, I'm sure they have got some updates. They've been all working behind the scenes on some pretty awesome things. We'll go ahead and start with Sticks Intern. You had a pretty awesome interview with, speaking of the Devil Holiday team here. If people have not seen that, where can they catch that? And how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. No, that interview was awesome. Honestly, that was way better than I anticipated it would be. I really loved getting into the nitty-gritty technical details with Halliday's chief technology officer, CTO. I'm not even gonna guess what the T stands for. Griffin, and he was a really good guy. Seemed like a great dude, just in general. Glad I got tried to pull a little alpha from him after the show. Didn't get much, but just even chatting with him, it was a good time. So I really liked that interview. Trying to do more content like that, but I don't know if the Twitter blitz begging is gonna work for everyone. So we might have to find a new way to get guests. But I want to do more interviews like that.
Oh no, hey, I hear you, man. Try and snag them now. Best opportunity. Speaking of snagging some pretty awesome interviews, Christian, you've done a few interesting ones, and you've got some fun ones coming up. Tell us about that.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to be piggybacking off of what Sticks Intern did and interviewing Halliday next week on Friday. And then Sticks Intern himself and I are going to be on the live stream on Tuesday. I apologize to Bogside guys in advance. If we overstepped our boundaries and we may have a little bit of a conflict. Maybe we can go a little bit earlier or later, but we'll work that out. Grady, since he finally got out of Vegas after being stuck there for a week, is going to be back, and we'll be doing some DFK Monday Night Madness, so that'll be fun. Yeah, it's going to be a great week. I think that the team continues to build, the partnerships continue to mount, and it's just going to be one of those really cool times when we look back and go like, God, that summer of 2023, it didn't seem like a whole lot happened, but everything got put in place so that we could actually catapult ourselves to new heights and then the upcoming bull run. So excited about what's on the agenda for us tonight, Sarge.
Oh no, and I will say huge shout out to Maddie Pask, Franz, Guy Kid, Boxhead Chats. We love you guys. And and the rivalry is strong. Sticks Intern and Boxhead Chats. You guys go back and forth, so it's very apropos.
If I may, just clarify,
No.
there isn't much of a rivalry. It's actually just I'm trying to engagement farm. They've got like 5 times the YouTube subscribers I do. If I talk smack on them, I might leech some of that. This is just me trying to clap up.
Oh no, hey, I don't blame you. You're not only an intern, you're a master, engagement farmer. Kudos to you. Wow, wowie, welcome back. It's been a minute since I've seen you. I know you've been doing some awesome streams with none other than Maddie Pask here. But what are you up to? What are you working on lately?
I'll tell you exactly what I'm working on. I am extremely exhausted because I have been working tirelessly day in and day out to put an end and a resolution on general chat for DFK discords, constant back and forth on whether a hot dog is a sandwich or not. Let me tell you, I've got a dissertation the size of an almanac coming out.
Yes.
And you know what? I think that conversation may have I can't confirm, but I believe it may have originated on this stream a few weeks ago. So I'm glad the conversation's holding. I saw DFK Twitter, I think, tweeted on this. It's a very contentious debate indeed. So we'll see where that one falls. Maybe at the end you can both tell us whether or not a hot dog is indeed a sandwich and which is better, Star Wars or Star Trek. So no pressure there, Wowie.
That's a lot of pressure. As someone who likes them both.
Raph, welcome back. Speaking of someone who's not, who's you've had your head, and I'm sure you and Neindorf sort of just plugging away at your blinders up. What are you all working on? Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the double-decker dissertation. Wowie. Always excited to be with Kristen Peter. I feel like every time you start talking about DeFi Kingdoms, I get more hyped and I get like closer to pulling the trigger on more Jewel. And Sticks intern, this is the first time we've got to hang out, so I'm really excited for this. So thanks for having me, Sergeant. As always, an esteemed panel of guests here. So. And then you let me join as well. I've been working with Neindorf, and we've been in the lab, and we're trying to build our own third-party game on top of really a PvE system. It's just going to be a storyboard style game, doing a lot of AI art generation for this right now. We have the tutorial in the final stages, and we're going to be opening it up to our alpha testers probably within the week. So. Really excited about this and ready to launch this out to the DeFi Kingdoms community. Of course, this is you can use your DeFi Kingdoms assets, and so your heroes that are in your wallets that you have and are registered for free on the ADFK site. We are going to have a paid mode somewhere in there, and we're going to have some free modes in there too. We want to make this really fun and very low cost barrier of entry, so people can use these assets and have fun with them. Right now, it's playing for funsies. We're hoping to roll out some raffle ticket features in the future, and then of course maybe some other features that maybe I can hint towards later.
Nice.
That's it for me.
Well, and I'm sure you all will have a stream in the near future doing a deep dive on.
I think I've forgotten how to stream myself. Actually, it's been so long, so maybe not. I just think I'm just going to join everyone else's stream now.
Did you listen to my cold open? You got rusty after not doing it for a minute.
I would miss the ADFK stream. It's like my favorite thing.
It's been a while. Actually, I met Neindorf and our developing partner Skillet for lunch today. We're lucky enough to live close by together, and so we did lunch and we did a powwow meeting, and we're like, we need to stream again sometime soon, and so we're like, okay, maybe next week.
No, thank you very much, Raph. Sticks intern Christian Wowie. If you're here watching us live, it's because you clearly don't have tickets to watch Taylor Swift in concert, which apparently is like everything, what everyone's raving about. So I hear. Part of why we have Sticks intern here with us today. But let's get into some non-Taylor Swift stuff here and start chatting about these awesome partnerships that have been developed. Most recently, and to be fair, I was unaware of one of these. Sticks intern brought it to my attention, like right before stream, so I wrote it down. Super Oracles, right? Sticks intern? Supra Oracles. Yeah, can you briefly describe that here, and then I'll jump into the other ones?
Well, I'll do the best I can. So it is a way of doing verifiably random functions on the blockchain, and so. To give you something concrete, right? I saw a Twitter Spaces they did with Super Oracle months and months ago, and they were describing how in the current system, when you summon a hero, the crystal is made, and then there's some sort of backwards looking function which points to some aspect of the block a few blocks ago when you press the opening crystal, and that's how they generate randomness, is because it's like pulling some data from just a number that's a part of every block, but is different in every block. And so super oracles is a way to just have that all be done at once and done in a way that is even more random. And so there's like a degree of randomness in these things because a computer has a deterministic output, right? So in some sense, it can never truly be random. But by doing these, they basically have a way of applying entropy to the function, and that's what makes it really cool, and that's what allows for these random dice rolls.
Well, it sounds very intricate yet very important. We've got that partnership. We've got Halliday, which I know I mentioned. Six Intern had a pretty in-depth stream. Christian's going to have his own here soon. Essentially, it's an ease of onboarding people. No more MetaMask unless you so choose to continue with the chaos. We've got Swipe Blocks, which is sort of another interesting partnership. It'll allow people to on-ramp a bit easier. So between Halliday, Super Oracle, Swipe Blocks, question for the panel: a year from today, which of these three partnerships is most pivotal for DFK? We can go ahead and start with Christian.
Great question. I think that Halliday is by far going to be the most influential. I think that once people are able to onboard with a social media login or email or whatever it is that they choose, it's going to be a huge game changer for the entire DFK ecosystem. Not only that, but GameFi as a whole. Web3 games are a pain in the ass to get to. They're a pain to bridge to. They're a pain to do anything with. And just to click MetaMask confirm after every damn transaction sucks. So being able to set it and forget it and do the things that you really want to do is going to be the biggest game changer. I love Swipe Lux and having the ability to throw a couple of dollars in when you need that extra jewel or crystal or something that you're going to be buying your tokens with. And Super Oracles is obviously a big deal because Chainlink costs so damn much to get them on your chain. I think last time I talked to Dreamer, he said it was like $1 million+ just to get them to look at deploying their Oracle solution onto chain. So Super Oracles will be a big help there with the random number generators and everything else that Six Inter was just talking about. But I think by far and away, Halliday is going to be the godsend that we're looking for to bring so many more people into DFK, just to get them to take a look, right? If you can log in with Google or if you can use your email, come in, take a look. If you like it, play with a couple of heroes, and you'll see where it goes from there. But Halliday is my choice to win this 3-horse race.
One vote for Halliday. Love it.
I'm going to jump in quick here because it's going to 2 votes for Halliday. I mean, I don't think you could understate how much easier onboarding is when it's like the equivalent of Facebook instead of the equivalent of MetaMask. When it's like, well, come here, put in your email, make up a password, whatever, click, you're in. And then there's nothing else. That's when you start learning the game. And most games are set up so when you join, you get a little intro. So they kind of start force feeding you the game and begin the loop. And you can't really do that. I think Bolin was saying it really well on your stream with you, Christian, when like you got to bridge in from a centralized exchange where if you're just a brand new person, you might have to wait a couple days for them to fund your account and let you move it onto a wallet. And like Bolin just nailed it. It is when you're like trying to generate interest in something and then you put a 2-day waiting period in it, you lose all of that hype that you've built up with whatever drew their eyes in the first place. And then you're banking on them remembering it, which, like, I don't know about you all. If I don't have something in my calendar, it might as well not exist, right? And so likelihood of remembering it is low.
Well, by that token though, is not the on ramping just as pivotal, if not more pivotal. I mean, once
I would say it's second, right? But like I really just I think it's going to be so seamless. It gets rid of so many of the issues. That I think it's like Web 2ifying the game is what Halliday does. Swipe Lux is awesome. It's not in the United States, just for the record, for everyone listening. And so that is one big thing from keeping me from saying that it's the best, because at the end of the day, we're going to need a bunch of those people, a bunch of those on-ramps for servicing all of the different markets of people that want to be in DFK. But Holiday is just a global, across the board feature improvement.
Raph, one thing you might, that might sway you if it hasn't already swayed you. Something interesting. It may have flown under the radar in our most recent AMA. Halliday will also open source some of their tech so builders can integrate in whatever they're developing. I'm not sure what that means for you, if it means anything, but between the three, what are your thoughts there, Raph?
I think, I mean, first off, well said, both of you guys, Christian Peter and Six Intern. I would agree. I think it has to be Halliday. Being able to bring new people into the ecosystem and hopefully get back up to those numbers that we saw, and probably beyond the numbers that we saw inside the bull run. So much easier to onboard people, get them going and rolling and playing. I still think back to my early days of creating a wallet and then trying to bridge money first to the central exchange and then over to probably the wrong chain a couple times. I messed up things so often and frequently, and I've tried to get people in, and honestly, like, I've had friends just get kind of stuck in the wallet development phase. And so I think this is by far the biggest. I think it'll start to connect a lot of those people that are looking for a Web 2 style product and don't really get or are skeptical of the Web 3 stuff. And it still is supported by the Web 3 backend. So I have to say Halliday.
Wowie, any thoughts that would prevent the sweep here, or are you on the Halliday train?
Well, I mean, as a Floridian who can't utilize ramp to put money into the game, I feel like I have to say Swipe Lux, but it's definitely Halliday. I mean, coming from a gamer's perspective, when I first got into DFK, it took me literally 3 weeks to buy my first hero. And I tried actively, but I had to learn everything from the ground up, right? I wasn't in crypto to begin with. I barely, I traded Ethereum and Bitcoin and Dogecoin on markets, but I had no idea what a wallet was. I had no idea what a smart contract was. I had no idea really what NFTs really were. So it was just a 3-week educational session until I could get to the point where I was like, all right, now that I've been feed to death and I've lost hundreds of dollars in gas trying to figure this out, now I can buy an $850 Priest Fisher. So yeah, to remove that headache just in the beginning, because if I wasn't hyped enough, like if I didn't believe in the project as much as I did in the very beginning, there's no way I would have made it to the end.
Oh, absolutely.
So just for the health of the game in general, the ecosystem in general, it's got to go to Halliday.
I had heard of DFK from George Cryptos R Us, and I'll never forget. It was a Saturday, and family was gonna they were gonna leave the house because we were gonna get flooring installed, in the house. They were gonna remove carpet and install flooring, and I said, oh hey, you know what? Plenty of time. I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna figure out how to onboard and buy my first hero. The group, the team of people who were here to replace flooring replaced the floor much quicker than I could buy my first hero, and that that was maybe a 10.
It was probably cheaper than your first hero too.
And it was probably it was probably definitely cheaper. It was like an $800 hero. I mean, and like you, wow, it was a gardening hunk of junk. Anyhow, those days are long gone. I think the OGs will remember them in perpetuity and reminisce about that. About those days when Jewel Moons. I have to ask the next logical question, because I go to sleep sometimes and I wake up in cold sweats. Have you all try to plan a huge party, and you've gone through each meticulous detail. You've hired the right DJ, you've got the right food, everything. It's perfect. You've invited people, but now you're sitting there. You're worried whether or not people are gonna actually show up to your party. Yes, we're doing the on-ramping stuff. Yes, we're onboarding. It's gonna be much easier. We think the game is cool. Clearly, we're here. We talk about it nonstop. Are any of you worried that we've built it and maybe people don't show up?
I mean, personally, no, not at all. as someone, like I said, I come from the gaming community. I'm not from the crypto community whatsoever. So I don't really think I could speak for the crypto aspect. I feel like a lot of the crypto Twitter people get really bitter really quick and give up. And when they come back, they'll probably see something familiar, get really mad that they missed out on the, oh, it was $21, then it went down to 15 cents. Oh shoot, it's $50 now. I feel like that's gonna end up happening. But from a gamer's perspective, as long as it's fun and people like it, they'll just come in masses. More and more and more and more people just come out like, hey, I want to play this game with you. Hey, I need I joined this guild and I need one more person to go with me to this area because I can only bring this many heroes and I need backup. You know what I mean? Like it becomes like a gigantic, I'm going to bring my mini community into the larger community, and it just grows from there.
Sticks, intern, are you worried? I mean, you've DJ'd in your life. I mean, do you ever get the jitters? You know, people aren't going to show up. Maybe the
Oh
party
yeah,
isn't as
I
fun.
do. I do. I've actually, I've DJ'd as an opener before, which is like DJing when you're intended for no one to show up for your show. And like, I got to tell you, that's a totally different experience. But that's, I don't think, what we're going to have here. I'll be honest. I followed a lot of games through several year-long development cycles where like I was on the internet forums being a freaking nerd, and this happened when I was young. Like I first started following the development of Star Wars: The Old Republic. Um, I think when I was 13 years old, and I think it released when I was in college. So, like I've been in that situation, hanging on to every detail. When the game came out, it was super fun. It wasn't a big giant hit, but guess what? There was still a ton of people who showed up and played it. It was still a pretty like, it wasn't a hit, but it was a well played game. When I logged in a few years after, a few expansions down the road, chats were still active, guilds were still very active, the economy was booming. I was able to like play the game and have a ton of fun with it, even though it was widely considered, not a huge commercial success. And so I think that is if this comes out and it's a fun game, it's just about getting eyeballs on it. And I have full faith that it's going to be a fun game just from having read these class codices, however you want to say it. And like the design philosophy is really fun, and I'm just really excited to just chew through these patch notes for years and years as I play this game. And I think a lot of other people are going to do it too.
Code I, maybe?
I know for sure it's codices and or codexes. It's just a matter of how classy you want to sound.
How about you, Raph? I mean, is that something you sit around and lose sleep over?
DefiKingdom's, no. I feel like we've surrounded ourselves with a great community, and this is a group that I feel like I'm in a position, fortunately, during the last bull run to pull enough out to cover my initial investment and then my re-entry. So I'm in a good financial position from that standpoint, that really eases and takes some of that stress or burden off. But then I just like hanging out with this community. It's a lot of fun. I'm building a game that probably is not going to make any money, just because it's fun right now. And I think everything that Neindorf and I try to do is like, how do we make sure that we're doing something that creates our own or enhances our own kind of personal skills that we can kind of couple with this. And I think my advice to everyone is like, never like plan on something having to be a success in order for you to be happy. And so, I'm doing this because it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm building skills. I like hanging out with the community. And I feel like investing in the game is the same thing. Who knows? I think it's gonna be a while yet. I don't think it's like 6 months before Jewel starts rebounding or really jumps up. I don't know, could be wrong. But I'm in it for the long haul.
Christian, you've been outed here on the stream as being a TB celebrity. For those of you who didn't know, but you're an investor. You've been an investor for years and years. You see DFK as a good investment opportunity, but I think you also see it as a good game, or at least a game to be. I mean, tell us about it. Is the fear of people not showing up something that keeps you up?
It is. I mean, I think like with anything else, you plan ahead for the the difficulties that the game's going to see, and I think the team's being smart about it, right? I mean, we've got a good core community that's really ambitious and really wants the best for the game. The people that were in it back in early 2022 or late 2021 pretty much have exited, at least the ones that were just there for the run up. So we've got a great community. We've got people that are really passionate, just like you, Sarge. I mean, so many different personalities, so many different amazing people that are doing things that I would have never imagined DFK would have become. I remember going to the wishing well and using my heroes when the only thing you could do was to try to get tiers, right? And tiers were $4. And I was like, oh, right. If I can do this every day for the next 30 days and I get 3 tiers, I'm going to pay for all my heroes. This is going to be such an amazing time. And I just remember thinking, like, how many other people are doing this, waking up at 3 a.m. to play this?
Yeah, I
damn
set my
block
alarm
video.
clock to wake up to
Yeah.
get tiers.
Same. And you're only getting like 25 XP for the whole bar of stamina.
Right,
Just one
right.
per quest.
Exactly. The stamina definitely did not go very far. But yeah, I remember when I hit 7 tiers one time, I was like, yes, yes, I'm rich. But yeah, it's those little intricacies inside the game that we're going to remember. And I mean, I'm sure at some point there's going to be just so many different things to do inside the game. And the team's building the transportation portion of it and the crafting portion of it, the lands portion of it. It's just there's so many different little things that are going to come up, and people are going to get interested in whatever they're interested in. Somebody's going to like PvP, somebody's going to like crafting, somebody's going to like buying land and building their own little nest egg on there. I don't know what part of the game I'm going to enjoy the most, but I'm having fun right now talking to the team on a daily basis, just figuring out what Hubert's up to and what Dr. Zipper's working on and what partnership Sunbear is going to put together and where Frisky Fox is in the world. And and Grady and I are in Vegas, and all of a sudden Dreamer walks in and he's wearing a backpack that's got an LED screen on the back and it's got a Dread Knight swinging his sword.
No
and I was like,
way.
and Dreamer's like, isn't this cool? And we were like, yeah, that's freaking awesome. And he gets on his phone and he changes the picture on his backpack. And I was like, this is, it's fun. It's fun. You never know what you're going to run into or what you're going to do. And I just think that we're going to look back on this time. We're going to be like, yeah, you remember Sarge's streams when we get 8 or 10 people on there and we'd argue back and forth about, will people ever show up? And now all of a sudden there's a couple 100,000, if not a couple million people playing a game. And we're just having a great time doing it. So I think that we're early to the party yet. The party's just getting started. It's like, okay, DFK said it started at 7 p.m. and nobody's going to get there till midnight, right? And so we're right around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening, and it's starting to get fun. There's a couple people, there's a keg, the DJ's going off, maybe Sticks Interns on the as the DJ's warming people up, and we're all coming into this party. And at some point, midnight's going to hit 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. We're going to be there, and it's just going to be going off. It's going to be packed. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, we're there early, guys. It's like everything else in life. It's like you get an opportunity, you see the opportunity, and it just feels right. I think that we all get that feeling like, yeah, we're onto something really big here, and we just want to ride it for as long as it goes. And it's fun. Like Raph was saying, it's just like you want to have fun, enjoy the ride. It may go skyrocket, it may not, but let's just enjoy it while it's here and have fun and see where this thing goes.
Raph, how much more Jewel are you buying after that?
Dude, I was just gonna make
every
a comment.
time it's just
well, let me interrupt my regularly scheduled program to ask you. I have to ask Christian, because it was you and Grady and Dreamer and a bunch of other awesome people at Vegas. I know you briefly talked on your last stream. I'm sure you'll do more, and we'll see more footage along the way. But how was Vegas? Tell us about that. It just sounds like it was a tremendous time.
It was great. It was all Grady. He's the huge personality. He's the one that, makes things happen. So George is calling him up and saying, hey, you going to come to Vegas? And then Grady's like, I'm going to Vegas. So I'm like, hey, I'd love to go to Vegas too. And so he's like, let me get you in. So he calls up George, and George gets me on the list. And next thing you know, we're in Vegas having a great time and partying with Jed and George and Sin City Crypto guys. And I didn't expect Dreamer to be there when he walked in, and we're like, oh, cool. So we wrapped with him for, about an hour or so, but there were so many big time content creators and a couple of venture capitalists. And, it was at the top of the Mandalay Bay. I'd never been there. It's called the Foundation Room. And it was just it was a great night. I mean, it was 4-hour long party, but it went really quick. I mean, I think Grady can attest to this, and we'll talk about it more on Monday on his stream, but it was it was fun. I mean, we networked with probably 30 or 40 people in the matter of like 4 hours and got a lot of people's contact information. Loudmouth, who we had on the stream a couple days ago, got $3.6 million, guys, just to have events for crypto companies. So for the next 12 months, he's going to have 12 different events, and they're going to basically spend $300,000 per event to attract all these new startup crypto companies in for these parties all around the country. And she wants to invest, the person, the VC who was there, in crypto companies, Web3, and they own a big family office that has hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're like, we want to get into blockchain. We know that you're an influencer. And I was like, wait, I'm an influencer too. Can I get
yeah, shit.
But yeah, it was the fun. I mean, when you're in Vegas, it's just, it's tough not to have fun. But it was even more fun to be around all these crypto influencers that were just like there to enjoy what everybody's building. And everybody's building too in the bear when it comes to crypto. So, I mean, the influencers were there thinking like, okay, if I've got 1,000 subscribers now, in the next bull run, I'm going to have 100,000, because, a lot of these companies like BitBoy and Altcoin Daily, and, a lot of the ones that were small back in 2018, 2019 became just behemoths in 2021, 2022. So, if you do have a stream and, the Adventures in DeFi Kingdoms guys can get on there, Raf and Nine-Dorf, you guys can build that subscriber base up now to a couple 100,000 people that are going to be playing the new game. So yeah, this is the time to be building for everyone.
All I can hope for is right now we've got 17 viewers, 18. I'll settle for 18 viewers come the bull. I'm looking forward to that stream, Christian. I know you you and Grady, and super kudos to Grady. Every opportunity I have to sort of praise the man, I do. He's done a lot for us, the community, the project. I think because of him, and I'm sure others do as well, we're positioned the way we are. And who knows what the future brings. So we've talked new partnerships.
Can I get one thing?
Yeah.
I want to jump off of the last thing KP said there about your Raf and Nine-Dorf's stream. It's just, more important than that, I think it's really cool that you guys are building the first installment of the Gaia's community-driven universe, aka the GCU, aka the Gaiaverse. And I'm really excited to see it. I released my Pulp Fiction earlier, Origin Story Part 2. Go read it. It's not nearly as cool as what you guys are building, but I am really excited for it. And I know it's like when you're building something and you just kind of like, no one says anything about it, you don't know if anyone's excited. So I wanted to express that so you could hear it.
Thank you.
Oh no, absolutely no, and to your point, Sticks, the more utility we can have to our NFTs, the better. And I know, ADFK's project may be one of many down the road, but the sheer fact that they're developing, and that we might have an influx of players who are not just playing, the tried and true PvP, PvE that DFK is developing, but all these other games, it's just super neat. Just more reasons to be bullish on DFK as a whole.
I'm of the opinion that what's going to make DFK the most popular one day, like 10 years in the future, is going to be a mod, not the default game, because that's the way it is for video games that allow modding. Is the community always comes up with something that's more fun for the community. That's how League of Legends was invented. Dota was a mod for the Warcraft real-time strategy game, and that's how the MOBA came about as a genre. And then LoL took that idea and made it into the highest. I think it was like, it might not be the biggest, but it's like the biggest esport in my mind.
If Maddie Pass, if you didn't realize, Maddie Pass was already falling in love with you here in the chat. You probably just like hook, line, and sinkered him with that.
I waited until he went to bed. He said that above, so he's good.
Catch it. He'll catch it tomorrow. No, that's great. So let's talk about old partnerships. We've talked about some of our new ones. In the AMA, we were talking about Clayton and that new grant proposal. The way I understood it was that this first iteration was sort of an intro to a potential larger partnership. It's not sort of an indefinite partnership necessarily. They're working on some sort of grant infrastructure whereby, it's sort of like, I guess, a contract-based commitment. They're looking at sort of another extension here in the near future. If you've not seen the grant proposal that's been pitched to the Clayton community, it's an interesting one. I have a few excerpts I pulled out to just read through. There's some interesting facts in there that I think might impress us all. Maybe we can react to some of these statements here. I've highlighted these here. So DFK submitting a request of 1.5 million in order to secure the continued development of DFK for the next 12 months. This currently represents nearly 20% of all transactions and 60% of all gas usage on the Clayton blockchain. Even though that, as a whole, only 10% of DFK transactions are being performed on Clayton. So a couple facts here. I think the fact that only 10% of all transactions are being performed in Clayton is interesting. Another excerpt here that I thought was worth highlighting, something we've all speculated on. This was something that was put together by the DFK team. Pretty interesting. So Clayton represents, yes, like I said, 10% of all transactions. Here's what sort of reeled me in. In the past 30 days, we have seen 3.6 million transactions from over 35,000 unique active wallets. We've all speculated as a whole as to how many wallets may or not be interacting with DFK. Let's start here. 35,000 unique active wallets. I mean, what does that do to you? KP?
I think it's cool.
Do you?
I think it's really cool. I highly doubt all of that activity is bots. Now, at the same time, I do think it's a bit of a padded stat because it's my understanding that there is heavy speculation about a layer 0 unconfirmed airdrop, right? And I think a lot of that growth stat might, to some extent, it might be civil, people doing a civil thing, trying to maximize their airdrop with as many wallets as possible. So, that strategy, though, has been kind of, well, I don't want to say nipped in the bud because people are still doing it, but it's been addressed with some of the bigger recent L2 airdrops. So I would hope that if Layer 0 does eventually do that airdrop, they release some data about how many civil wallets they found, because that would be really interesting to see.
Christian, are you at all impressed by those 35,000 unique wallets? Do you think, like Sticks in Turn, these are all maybe farming wallets or bots combination?
It's a good conversation. I talked to Bolon, and right now there's about 180,000 active wallets inside of DFK. So 180,000 total, but a lot of those, as we know, were created just for the fact that they're farming the airdrop for Layer 0. How many? Nobody can be sure, but I think that if you're probably right that it's going to be somewhere around 20 to 30,000 wallets, and most people now have multiple wallets. So how many actual players, how many actual individuals are playing DFK? When we talked about this in Vegas a little bit, we were thinking probably somewhere around 2,000, 2,500 active players. So I think that there probably are somewhere in that realm right now. There may be a few more, there may be a few less, but I think that if we're looking at it, realistically, 2,000 to 3,000 is probably where we're at. And, to double that or triple that or, 10x that wouldn't be too difficult, because that would be right at that 30,000 unique active monthly wallet layer that they just, equated that to. Does that mean that all those players are going to be playing something or doing something? I don't know, but it's going to be a heck of a lot more, things happening with materials and with heroes and with prices. So when we saw the first initial influx of wallets, I didn't see a big change in pricing. The tokens kind of went up a little bit, but they didn't skyrocket like, they probably should have if we saw 50,000 new wallets come into the game. And we all thought, oh, we did this because we were at 3XP, right? And we got the word out, and, it was all of us, and we helped the ecosystem. And then come to find out that we probably didn't do a whole heck of a lot. It was probably that Layer 0 airdrop that everybody was trying to farm. But anyway, made us feel good. And again, I think that we're probably somewhere that, 2,500, I think, is a safe number to say players right now. And I think that we can all see the potential to get that up just much, much higher. And doubling it, tripling it, quadrupling it shouldn't be that difficult. That doesn't mean it's going to do that for Jewel, but it could. It definitely could. And that's just a short-term thing. In the long term, I don't see us, staying below 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 players, assuming that everything goes according to plan. And PvP is somewhat fun, and traveling and crafting and all the other things that are going to come into play. So I'm thinking that 35,000 is a great number to use for Clayton. I'm hoping that Clayton gives them somewhere close to that $1.5 million ask that they're asking for. But Bolon also told me that that's kind of a starting point. It's a negotiation. They'll probably come back and say, oh, we'll give you a grant for 500,000 or, $600,000, which still is nothing to, sneeze at, but it's just kind of a starting point for their negotiations. And that proposal is going to be a good starter for them to hopefully get some, incentives from Clayton to, they're 60% of Clayton's gas right now. I mean, can you imagine if 50% of the heroes were over there? They'd be 99% of Clayton's gas. So yeah, they have an incentive on Clayton's side to give them some cash to continue building.
Raph, Wowie, on that note, one of the other, and like everything, I read that and I heard a lot of positives. But the internet and Twitter will always twist your arm on something. I read some interpretations on Twitter to say, oh boy, they're asking for 1.5 million. They must be desperate for money. Their runway is not as as long as expected. DFKs, on the brink of whatever. You see proposals like this, which are very transparent. I don't know that they needed to share any of that. Very nice of them to share. Wow, you Raph, is that? Do you see? Are you concerned at all? I mean, I see some positive sort of intonations in for that proposal, but when you sort of look at it, from a macro level, are you worried?
Raph, you want to take this one first?
Sure. I am a little worried about this. I think it was it was a bit sneaky like kind of throwing this out there. It feels a lot like in a relationship when one person starts going to the gym a lot and working out, and then it's like, I'm grabbing coffee with my hot yoga instructor from the gym here. I feel like they are doing a little bit of flexing and showing like Clayton, like, hey, this is the hot bod that that you got over here. Let's make sure you treat us well. And I don't know what's gonna happen. I think it felt there's a lot of underlying contextual, and maybe I'm reading into it too much of Dreamer's tone from the AMA. It feels just a lot like, hey, Clayton, like you gotta like they're announcing to us, we are putting this out there at a look at me. Come look at us. We're asking for money. I thought it was a pretty steep ask given kind of the dollars of gas fee that are generating, but like you said, it's probably just a starting negotiation point, Christian. So I think they would be pretty happy if that got talked down. I think the one thing that I would say, all of that aside, I think most of that's good. The one thing that I thought was maybe I would put in a touch concerning was that the milestones that they had seemed a little softballish. And so it seemed like they could really hit those milestones out of the park easily. They did not have PvP as one of their milestones, which actually I was a little disappointed in. And so I think that's the only thing that if I was picking nits, but I think they really have to look out for what they're going to do in terms of being a cross chain game. It saved them once, probably twice. And it might be something that they have to lean into even more. I could see that becoming pretty defeating for our community if they had a bridge to another chain again before PvP is out. I could see that kind of wearing on people. I hope people have the fortitude to kind of see it through and understand that it's they're making business decisions that have to keep this game going. So that's my feeling. Hopefully that was a measured response with a slight bit of concern.
No, I love the response. I think it's a fair one. Wally, what do you think?
It's weird. I both agree and disagree. I really like the perspective that Raph just gave. I agree with the important pieces, but I have the opposite feeling about them. I think the flex is a good thing. I think the 1.5 mil ask is a great thing. Basically, they're putting the ball in Clayton's court, going, I mean, look at all the good we're doing for your ecosystem in particular. We're giving you exclusivity rights right now for the next year, and we're promising not to work on anybody else's chain. We're only going to be working on your chain. It's almost like geez, what
Sounds like someone janking someone's chain. I had to throw that in there.
almost right. But it's an ultimate flex of in using leverage, right? Like here's what we see we've already done. Here's what we're planning on doing. And I have a feeling that, I mean, we all know where Dreamer's coming from, right? We all know where he was before he came here. I feel like there's no way that he would make a bad move in terms of utilizing leverage in a negotiation. I will agree with Raph though that the 4 milestone points did seem extremely softball, but that doesn't mean that they aren't going to be working on anything else. These are just the easiest things to shovel in and say, here's the gigantic things we can put in here. We're also going to do the other things, but we don't want to like tie ourselves to our community and have one of those when moments over and over and over again. But I mean, the bazaar. What were the 4 milestones? There was the bazaar.
Already done.
Yeah, the bazaar is already done. PVE,
expeditions and achievements.
Yeah, expeditions and achievements, and what it was like 375K per. So it was like an even quarter across the board. I think this is just leverage that's going to be used as a negotiation tactic because they want to grow, right? They don't want it to be just a handful member team. They need more Solidity devs. They need more outreach people. They need more PR. They need more everything. They got to rebuild the team back up to the strength it was when Jewel was at $21. And they're going to try and get ahead of the curve right now with this proposal. I'm a really big fan of it, honestly.
Okay, so you guys raised some great points. I just responded to what both of you said about the milestones. That is, I get what you're coming from. That is the same thing. The reason that is so low, is because of the same negotiating tactic with why you lead with a really high number. It's because that's like their end of the deal. So you come into a deal saying, yeah, all you do is peanut. You give me $1 million, and then at the end, once you guys negotiate it through, you're both getting something of value. And so that's just the lowball offer to go along with their highball ads. And when it says guaranteeing support for Serendale Realm exclusively on Clayton, that's the one thing that really caught my eye in this, was that it's not building exclusively on Clayton, right? Because they have DFK chain, they have a literal competitor, Clayton. And if you wanted to think about it in the most Machiavellian, but this Serendale exclusivity, it kind of, to me, that is a hint that, hey, if you don't give us any money, we'll up and port this whole thing to another chain who will. And so I think that's really cool. Just having kind of like the ability to say something like that using subtext, but that's the way I kind of interpret it. And maybe I only get paid hundreds of dollars an hour to interpret documents like this. So,
well, you might be onto something. Put a ring on it, or I'll walk away. By the way, your mic, I think the feed's being picked up elsewhere. I could hear you. We could hear you. It's just a little echoey. Well, if we're equating this to a relationship, how do you guys feel about the Clayton relationship as a whole? I mean, sort of retrospectively looking at it from start to finish or start to now, are you guys happy where, with what, we were all expecting? I personally was expecting at least some sort of influx of, new Asian players or I think Korean players, to be onboarded. And unless you guys have seen different, I've not seen some of that. Christian, your thoughts on that? I mean, are you happy with the way things have worked out thus far for, between us and Clayton?
No.
Oh,
I'll pass it
said,
on.
I love it.
No.
I love it. I love it. Anyone else want to chime in? I agree.
Well, so I think a big part of it is we got into this deal with Clayton and it was great at the time. But as they mentioned in the AMA, Clayton's internal governance has shifted a lot. And when you switch out the people running a company, it's very easy to switch out what that company cares about, right? And I think they were really hot on some people's list, and those people aren't in power anymore, and they're kind of not getting the love that they used to. And I think it shows in the fact that DFK was the one who developed the Korean localization and the docs. Like that's something that Clayton should have people doing, right? If they're marketing into English-speaking territories and trying to bring those products into Korea, that's if you would think about it rationally, that's something that they would want to control, right? How the market to their, how to like what words to put it into their market, bringing it in, and yet it was something to let DeFi Kingdoms do, and they did it, and they you have Kingdom Studios being this great partner, but I don't know how much they've gotten back for it. We were initially promised things like control over gas and gas rebates. If you remember going back that far, that was one thing that they were talking about. And I'm not saying DFK hasn't followed through. It seems to me that they really are pushing Clayton, and Clayton has had these internal shakeups that have limited the relationship beyond what was maybe promised or implied.
I really
And
agree. I think you guys said it a lot better than my rambling earlier. I think it's they're. I agree with the subtext that you mentioned in kind of reading the document, and that's not my profession. I think it's it's coming out overt now, and it's I don't hate the player for playing the game. I think it is kind of a little disappointing that they are in this situation, and clearly I think that's a reflection of the relationship isn't quite panning out the way that they want it to. But I believe in the DFK team to navigate this and figure it out.
any closing remarks there on that, Wowie, before we move on to our last topic?
Honestly, I've got nothing to add. You guys did incredible. You covered everything.
I agree. I mean, Christian Simple No should be the summary of whether or not we're all happy with Clayton. I think simply said, yes, we're not happy. So roadmap. So it's very interesting because it's almost a conflicting roadmap of sorts. We called out the fact that DFK in their proposal to Clayton mentions bizarre PVE expedition achievements, but if you look at the roadmap on it's posted in their docs, a bit different. Let's focus on that roadmap that's sort of officially on their docs, and maybe talk about which one of these things excites you the most and which one should come first. So let's see that here. We've got expeditions, we've got tournaments, in-game chat, PvP, not PvE, which is interesting, level 10 mining quests, achievements, and yellow egg hatching. Of these things here listed, which is the most pivotal for you to come out first before any of the others?
Oh, well, I'll just go ahead and snag this low-hanging fruit. PvP.
And why not tournaments, though? I mean, there's an argument for we've been promised, and I'm assuming PJ-style tournaments longer than I think we've been promised PvP or PvE. I mean, why not tournaments versus PvP?
Well, I mean, the way I see it is, how would tournaments be fought, right? Would it be duels brackets? Would it be just a random number generator? Would it just be, what could it be? Would it be off chain? Would it be in Discord? Would it be something of that, like a contest or something like that, the sweepstakes, something like that? You have to have some medium to be able to go through the tournament with. And I think the easiest for them, while it not being duels, would be the integration of PvP. I think those are going to be tandem, honestly, because I feel like they're not going to release PvP without releasing a function behind it, which would be the tournaments most likely. But yeah, PvP's got to come first.
In answer to your question, tournaments would be a built-in tournament feature that will allow players to brawl with their heroes in a bracket-style DFK duel tournament and compete for lucrative prizes. So that's the answer to your question on tournaments.
Well, while the DFK duels in that sentence there has been under heavy scrutiny, I feel like in Wowie's show, even with Maddie, when you had Workhorse and Hubert on. Did you guys talk about that? And didn't Hubert kind of say that they're leaning away from duels. Maybe I have to go re-listen to that, but that's what I thought from your
I
show.
was remembering the same thing, Sticks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't think they were saying like the eradication of duels, but they were
Right.
definitely like, yeah, you're completely right.
Like not limited to just duels for those tournaments. I think that was the way I was
Right.
thinking about it. Yeah. Since I started talking, I'll just say I agree with Wowie that I think tournaments and PvP as a combination are the most important thing. Which one do I want the most in the world though? If I just if I could get one thing tomorrow,
Yeah.
I think it would actually be those things. But in-game chat is my third.
Really? In-game
Yeah.
chat, huh?
I want to be able to play people, and then I want to be able to tell them how bad they are.
That sounds like really a loaded feature.
Well, it's going to get done to me a lot more than I'm going
that's
to be able to
very
do it to other
true.
people.
Zealous, I'm not sure how your how your AI functions, how that's gonna, or any of the other bots out there, how they're interacting with other players, if that's something that ends up happening. Raph, of the things posted here, is it a simple PvP, and I don't want to see anything else other than PvP first?
I mean, it's PvP, always been PvP, always will be PvP. Or it could be PvE, I suppose. I think either I want to start having fun, putting all these heroes that we've been putting our blood, sweat, jewel, and real tears and fake tears. Oh, sorry, my house alarm is going into stay home mode, so
No
it's
worries.
beeping. So sorry about that. And what I would say is, like, I just want to like use these guys, and I think that it's critical to the ecosystem actually rebounding is making sure that you have something fun to do with your jewel, and that'll incentivize more and more people to be spending their jewel and therefore burning their tokens, whether it's crystal or jewel to play or a combination of both. Likely, that's what we need.
Christian, what do you tell the person who's been here since day one? They've got an army of PJ heroes, and they say, if you don't give me tournaments first, I'm leaving. What do you tell that person? I don't know that person exists, but I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that the game's gonna live or die by the PvP that comes out, be it good, bad, or indifferent. And I think the combat testing grounds are gonna take it only so far. So we've got to have a little bit of fun inside the game. I agree with Six Intern that in-game chat is huge. I mean, I really think that the DFK platform is going to give rise to a lot of different things outside of kind of what we're thinking. Combat, though, the combat system is going to be a big role in everything that goes on, be that PvE, dungeon crawling, questing, going out and jungling. I think that everything is going to really start to come into play here in the next couple of months. But the biggest thing right now for the team, and having the conversation with Bolon, was let's figure out how we get new players onboarded. And that's really what August is about for them, is how many people can we get onboarded? How can we get these game features integrated in such a way so that it's going to be easy, because we don't want to have to go through having to onboard people in a bull market when things are, in flux, and we've got to do all these different things. And even going back to your previous question, Sarge, I mean, the Clayton chain, I think it was a good idea, and it sounded promising when we first got into it. But there are so many other places now that would love to have DFK on them, and so many other chains that are being built. And I feel like they're coming from a position of power now. It's actually just completely flipped 180 for the team, where Dreamer was talking about, oh my God, I'm at the end of my wit's end trying to find VC capital so that we can keep the lights on. Well, now they're coming from it like, hey, look what we're doing. 10% of our heroes are questing on your chain, and we're doing 60% of your gas volume. I mean, any other chain right now in this type of market would die for that, right? It's just like, wow. I mean, the Arbitrums out there, and the Aptoses and the Mantles and all the other L2s that are being built. It's just going to be one of those things where the longer this goes on, they're just going to be playing from a more and more position of power. And I think that that's going to give them the ability to, make the asks that they can get, and get the little incentives that they can. But going back to your question, PvP is going to be the big catalyst for us. Hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, but I do want to see what those lucrative prizes are in the tournaments, because I know that the leaderboards for a while propelled this game pretty high. And when the leaderboards went away, because there was so much botting going on and other things, but the leaderboards were one reason why people stuck around, because they could win 5,000 jewel, and they could get some pretty lucrative prizes. So the tournaments might be a good stopgap until we do have that full PvP, PvP environment at some point in the future.
And I will continue to borrow your brain and your voice for this next question, because I know you had a stream with Bull on the Bazaar. I know we mentioned some of these partnerships, new, old. Not a partnership per se, but something built internally. August, July. I guess it was July. It's been a very sort of a milestone month in DFK's history here, with a lot of cool things. Explain to us why the Bazaar is gonna be the thing that sort of outshines and sort of propels DFK beyond some of the other platforms out there, other games.
Yeah. Order book dexes are kind of the holy grail. I mean, realistically, nobody knows what a AMM is, and it's very difficult for people to wrap their brains around. But everybody understands an order book. You place an order, a limit order, or a market order. It executes based on the pricing at that current time and allows people to transact. And that's really what you want. Is you got to have that vibrant economy that's happening in game. And we talked about it. It was really difficult for us to do anything with illiquid tokens, right? These ERC20s that don't have any liquidity at all in the DEX were really hard to trade. And we had to go to the DGen dungeon. You had to trust somebody on the other side that was going to send you stuff. I know that everybody's probably had to go through an OTC transaction before, where you're like, all right, I'm going to send Sergeant my 500 jewel. Hopefully he sends me that hero in exchange, and so, you cross your fingers that it's going to happen. Now, by having an order book DEX, you've got those items. If somebody's got them, they're going to sell them. If somebody wants to buy them, they can go out there and buy them. It's just going to be so much more seamless. And the slippage is not going to be the same, right? Because some of those items too that were being sold in the trader, if you bought one, it affected the price 25 or 30%. So the next one you bought was 30% higher. And then you bought the next, and then if you were selling, it was the same thing. So it was just it was a pain to try to transact. And I think that this Bazaar is going to really allow people to come in, do their transactions, get what they want, sell what they want, buy what they want, and be happy at the end of the day. And that's the user experience. The better user experience for everybody, the more players we're going to get.
I mean, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Sticks intern Raf, Wowie. Have you had the pleasure of interacting with the Bazaars? If yet, what do you think?
I've been stoked on it. I bought 10 greater Agi crystals because I wanted 10 greater crystals because I wanted that chance to get double, and I got my best hero is a shapeshifter ninja. I'm just giga chatting his agility. It's really fun using him in the CTG. He goes like twice per every other hero, and that being able to do that was great, because before at the AMM I would have a slippage or price impact of like 80% buying 10 off of them, and it would be absurdly expensive. And one thing that I think Bolon actually really explained well in the stream with KP above me here that he did was when you're selling into a DEX with these tokens, you get when they're that illiquid, like the greater tokens are, because there's just not that many of them. You start lowering the price on yourself as your trade is executed. And with the Bazaar, that just doesn't happen. Someone comes, if they like your price, they buy it. If someone wants to buy a bunch, they'll market buy and eat up part of the order book, right? And either the sells will come back down or the buys will rise up to meet it. And that's a good way for markets to work. It's crazy efficient. It's awesome that the Kingdom Studios team was able to build this, because it worked for me very seamlessly. I've sold, so I bought 100 Mokshas a week and a half ago. They were like 340-ish that I bought them for. And I just sold 20 of them on the Bazaar for 100. So that was pretty awesome. Getting that back, like big chunk of a third of my investment for a fifth of the tokens bought. So that's some free level ups right there for my level 14 heroes. And I'm a big fan of the Bazaar. I think, one thing I mentioned on my stream with Beeve the other day was that I think everyone says you could just go to DGen Dungeon and offer to buy one, and like Aphex or someone there will sell you one. But I think that ignores that there were a bunch of people who were sellers that didn't know to go check places like that. And now those people have somewhere where they could just go in the game. I want to get rid of this because I'm never going to use a greater luck crystal because I don't care what WoWE says. And so they list them, and now they have a place where they can do it.
And one of the things you mentioned that KP called out in his streams, arbitrage opportunities. They're there if you still have the time for that and something you're interested in. New opportunities for you to make a couple bucks here and there. WoWE Raf is gamers. I mean, the Bazaar. What does that do for you?
Okay, so I love the Bazaar so much because it got my brain completely forward oriented. I'm looking at this a year and a half from now when we've got full expansion, right? I'll just talk about Sarandale, or not Sarandale, I'll just talk about Crystal Vale for right now. But imagine we've got full expansion, we've got live PvE, PvP, we've got dungeons, we've got territory, we've got land, right? I think the Bazaar is going to be a limited function. Because when we're talking about a bustling, worldwide economy, right, which we're going to have cross-chain here with DFK, what is better than having the lowest price at your market? What's better than having the most supply, right? It is a starving crowd. I'm talking that we're probably going to see the Bazaar in Vithraven. We're going to see another Bazaar in some other land within Crystal Vale, probably guild controlled, another one somewhere else where someone has to like keep it all going. And we're going to see arbitrage opportunities and people actually working their heroes in, all right, I've got this much jewel. I'm going to buy all of the wood that's been harvested in this woodworking area, and I'm going to have my characters travel to another land on the other side of the map where it is scarce and I can sell for a premium.
Wow,
It's
that
going
is
to be absolutely
huge.
nuts, and I cannot wait.
Did not even think of that, but from a gaming perspective, I think you're so right. Raph, what do you think of that? Are you excited? Is WoWie gonna make you buy more Jewel?
Everyone tonight. Yeah, I mean, I've been waiting for the Bazaar for a long time. I have a few select heroes that are getting my attention right now, and I'm stockpiling some vigor stones. I'm trying to go for the infamous double second life. We'll see if I can get it. So
Fingers crossed.
it is I Wowie's idea I really like. I think that there's going to be a lot of features like that with traveling where you're going to get some inventory mechanisms. I think traveling is also going to solve a lot of our hero summoning gluts that we have. One question, if I may kind of ask the rest of the
Absolutely.
panel on, what do you guys think about that see an S jewel fee for keeping the Bazaar costs down?
I think the low one I'm probably gonna do. I just don't think 5,000 jewels pretty steep. You'd have to be doing a lot of trading to make that one just worth it. From like a perspective of not having any jewel in the
That's what I
jeweler.
thought too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's one that I would love to eventually like work my way up through compounding my C jewel and extending the lock, and maybe one day I'll have 5,000 that I could just throw at that. But I don't think I would throw 5,000 jewel in from the front end, assuming that it would save me enough to make it worth the investment. That just seems crazy. You'd have to be doing so much trading. Like maybe guild wallets, there might be a case for it, right? So if every time Mosh went and bought 100 eggs and all the tiers to go with it for his Crystal Kraken, I bet that would add up quickly, and maybe that would make it worth it. But other than that, where you're buying in a lot of volume, I just don't see it.
I kind of thought the same thing. It seemed like a steep escalation. Like, whoa.
It's
Like
it's 10 times
who's
the cost.
rolling around with that dough? Like, I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling a little poor right now.
Yeah, no. I was like 500. I thought it would be like 2,500 for a 0.5, right? Because that's just an even ratio. But it's not even like you get a discount or a better deal in bulk. You have to spend more. I don't know.
I'm no mathematician.
You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It's
no
not linear.
mathematician, but it doesn't sound like, at least for me, it would pay off. Christian, wow, is that something you're looking into?
First off, I want to tell Wowie that was awesome. I mean, I've been thinking the same thing in the back of my mind of like, okay, as soon as we have crafting, this is going to be so much fun because you can go over here and you can gather wood. Then you're going to go over here and you're going to get some leather. Then you're going to go over there and you're going to get some ore, and you're going to do all these things. And then they're going to really want ore in this particular part of the map. And so you're going to have to choose, do you want to do this or get it over there? And how are you going to do that? I can tell you guys that when they release the power-ups for the Bazaar, and I think, Ralph, you may have been hitting on this, there's a reason, right? There's a reason why they have that higher tier, because Hubert, being the big brain that he is, which I know that he's already thinking ahead 3 or 4 steps in this 4D chessboard. People are just going to live at the Bazaar. I mean, their heroes are going to be going from Bazaar to Bazaar to be trading stuff. And they're going to be like, okay, this 0.5% or however much it is, I forget exactly, is really going to make a huge difference because I'm selling thousands and thousands of these things every day. And, I'm saving so much money on these fees. It's going to be a huge benefit to me. So when that first power up came out, I think we were in Vegas and I was like, oh my gosh, they must be expecting a ton of volume to go through the Bazaar and these power-ups to be really beneficial to some of the players. So that's just my initial take on it.
I love it, honestly. So
KP's take once again makes me want to buy more jewel. Just saying.
Always.
Every time.
I think part of the problem I realize is, Sarge, is this happens on Friday, which for many people is payday.
Payday,
And then
yes.
you get KP on here talking, and it's like, I just got some money.
Yeah.
He's talking about jewel.
By the way, Fridays are the best days for me historically to sell some of those heroes because it is payday. But Wowie, the Bazaar, I really love the idea of like guild controlled bazaars. I mean, that sort of makes sense from a gaming perspective. I don't know how functional that is as a developer, but the idea of having like guild controlled bazaars totally makes sense. I picture a village, sort of, they've got their own ecosystem, and if you want to arb or trade amongst guilds, it's going to happen. That's certainly way down the line if that ever takes place.
A portion of the fee probably goes back to the landowner as well.
Oh, Raph is salivating at the thought of that. Any final thoughts on the Bazaar, Wowie?
So, in the case of what I've postulated here, I think this actually opens up more of the opportunity for the scholarship program that we've seen in a couple other games, like for instance, Axie Infinity. For those who don't know, there was a scholarship program where you could lend out your little Axie dudes to people who didn't have enough to like buy into the game, but you would effectively like teach them. They'd rent it to you for a much lower cost. They'd go do whatever they had to do, and you got a portion of whatever they did. So it really benefited everybody. If you had too many to deal with and somebody else could do it for you, everyone got paid out of it. In this case, I think we're going to see one of the biggest, most classic capitalistic ventures coming forward, which is, why do rich people buy anything towards like the upper end, right? And it is not monetary, right? Well, not always monetary, but it is specifically to save time, convenience. That's what the whales are going to be purchasing all over the place, and that's going to be our mini scholarship program, where it's, if we can get these people to make these arbitrage travels for us, and I don't have to worry about the constant minutia of making sure I take care of every little fine detail. I can do the stuff I want to do. I'm willing to pay a premium on getting logs from one side of the map to this side of the map without me having to do it all. So I think
to that point, I even find making stones tedious right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So
sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's a good point. The limitations is really what's going to like drive the economy. It's going to be like resource limitations in specific, like by area, by territory, by guild, right? If one guild controls a specific ore area, like Christian Peter was talking about, it's like, well, they kind of have a monopoly on it, right? They're going to be controlling that area for a while. That might open up more world PvP. Maybe we can, usher back control for the rest of people. Who knows? But I feel like, coming back to the beginning, I think this is going to be our like mini scholarship program. It's like, well,
Do we lose Wowie?
Oh, right at the moment.
I
Right at the
know.
climax.
Able
Wow,
to-
we lost you. Test 1, 2, 3. Paging Wowie.
Oh geez, I'm back. What
You're
happened?
back.
Uh-oh.
We lost you. You were hitting a climax, and
We
then
were
bam.
peaking.
Oh no. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Where did I leave off? Because I was rambling the entire time.
You were very excited about the idea of guild controlled bazaars and the concept that people would sort of live on these these bazaars to trade that way. But
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll just go ahead and summarize real quick because I said I said a lot. I'm not sure how much you guys missed.
no, we just missed the
only got
last
like
few
3
seconds. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just to summarize, I think this is going to be our little mini scholarship program.
Yes.
It's going to be basically a little job economy within DFK where, say, I can't buy myself a floor army, right? I can't buy 1,500 heroes to go quest to scatter out around the world to get all the stuff I need, but I can use a lot of my bag space on my characters. I can invest into a travel mount with extra space on it. I can do that rather than buying 1,500 heroes or buying the greatest PvP heroes out there, or buying the greatest crafters out there, and make money off of these arbitrage opportunities and be a wandering merchant.
And the more I think about it, and you got me thinking, Wowie, I think of like some of the games I've played, some of these. Yes, you have an army of 1,500 heroes, but in any game, I'm thinking like as oh god, what's it? Space? Oh god, I can't think of the game. Not Warcraft. There's a game. Basically, you have a bunch of heroes spread out, and if you're being attacked on one side of the map, you don't know that you're being attacked on the other side because you're focused on this one side, right? So the idea of being able to control 1,500 heroes, while appealing, not feasible in some sort of big sort of battle, right? You have to split that. More kudos to the idea of the scholarship program, where
Do you want us to just start naming games?
Yes.
StarCraft?
There's 8. Yes, StarCraft. There you go. All it took was 1. See, there you go.
Wow, well done.
Bam. See, Sticks intern. If you don't have an intern like Sticks intern, you need one.
Well, I'm about to disappoint here, though. Wowie, I think you're wrong. I don't think the bazaar is going to be split by location on chain. I think it's going to be one per chain. And I think we can take lessons from World of Warcraft. They used to have a different auction house for each of the major cities, and that split liquidity up. So it was such a huge pain in the ass when I wanted to go buy a potion. I had to go check Undercity, and then I had to go check Orgrimmar, and then I had to go check the other place that I forget the name of. And they ended up doing away with that. And DFK already, to some extent, has that issue built in by the fact that it's a multi-chain project. I don't think, as a matter of player engagement, that they're going to want to fragment that further down by splitting the bazaar up on one chain into different fragments.
That's a really, really, really good point. But I also want to bring up the World of Warcraft example as exactly where this idea comes from, because I made so much money arbitraging from Orgrimmar to Undercity.
You would be the person who liked that. That's fair. I can't blame you. I can't. I did enjoy it too. That's why I knew when they got rid of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was just a convenience factor, right? They needed the game to be more accessible, so people didn't feel that the time they spent engaged was something useless, right? Because when you're in World of Warcraft, you're playing one character and your travel time is real. You have to go from one place to another place. And that, I mean, you're talking 10, 15, 20 minutes. I mean, I think it was, but to go full Kalimdor, you had to go, it was like a 35-minute trip or 40-minute trip. And like that eats up real time. Now, wouldn't it make more sense if I can just set a bunch of heroes to start traveling while I work on the things I want to work on more specifically?
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's where the convenience factor comes in with in this case anyway. Whereas World of Warcraft was a single point of engagement where they had to keep you engaged, else they were, liable to lose a subscription, which they did not want to do.
Right. Okay. No, I like your reasoning there. I like it. It's good. It makes me doubt my conclusion, which is all I wanted, really.
I've been out of the game for a minute, so I'm trying to straddle the line between calling it and maybe asking one last question. But I'll end with maybe one statement. I'm sure you have. I know Sticks Intern has Christian, I know you've engaged with some of these. I'm pretty excited about the fact that I keep seeing DefiKingdom's name in so many content creator like profiles on Twitter. So it's just the traction that's there. If you're not on Twitter, because I know Twitter can be its own thing, but if you're not there, there's a lot of engagement going on with DFK, and I don't know what the buzz is. I harken back to 3XP, Christian. I know we probably didn't onboard thousands of wallets, but we certainly got the word out with the right people. So pretty excited there. Any last comments from any of you before we ask Wowie one important question?
Oh, I agree with what you just said there, Sarge. I've been seeing it too on Twitter. It's been getting me hyped. I know some of them are just going to end up being Fairweather fans, and they might talk some trash when on the way out. But I'm loving them coming in, and I think we're going to keep them here for a really long time because we have a great community and we have a great team developing what's going to be an amazing game.
Definitely. I'll echo what Sticks Intern said. And I think everybody's got their own niche. And I wanted to let everybody know that I've been talking to Grady a lot and to Brown Jen a lot too about having some more subscriber based, like being able to tweak our content to make it more accessible to a bigger audience. And so I've been really good about some of the tools that are out there, but I'm going to start sharing them more with the community so that, the podcast that you guys do, I know that Wowie's on Twitch and we're mostly all on YouTube as well, but TikTok is huge. Shorts are big, all the things that people are doing, and we can all benefit each other by getting our reach out there. And it's just going to grow the community that much more. So I'm excited about, putting on a couple more events and doing some things. And if you guys have any questions at all about, YouTube and how to kind of max the algorithm so that you can get higher reach and hopefully, more retention. And if one of your goals is to get more subscribers, great. Let's figure out how to do that so that we can keep each other accountable and hopefully look at each other's content and make it better and better every time we go out there. That's one of the things that I really wanted to do for the community. So I think that, it's awesome to see this. I'm glad that we all get together. Sarge, I'm so stoked when you're like, hey, I'm going to do this thing on Friday night. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's get together. I want to talk to everybody and hang out. So let's continue to make everybody's stream and everybody's content better as we go.
Well said.
Absolutely. Wowie, I'll end with this question: Star Wars or Star Trek? Settle the score.
Star Wars.
There he goes. He said Star Wars. It is written in stone. With that said,
no controversy here.
Thank you all very much. There you go. Another vote for Star Wars. Thank you all very much for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Until then, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Catch you all later.